From my perspective, I'm here, as Charlie said, I'm from the Department of Housing, Planning, Community and Local Government, the Community Division, and I'm in transition once more. And it's a good transition in that we're about to move into the new Department of Rural and Community Development. That's the latest on it, actually. So it's Rural and Community Development. Been there before in terms of a version of the department in the Department of Community, Rural and Gaeltacht Affairs. Then it became the Department of Community and Equality Affairs, and then we transitioned into the Department of Environment as was, then the Department of Housing. So we've had a number of different existences, and I have been with community for pretty much all of that time. So, you know, when sometimes I think this, you know, the stakeholders are tired of me at this stage. So what I'm here today to talk very briefly about is the Local and Community Development Policy Framework document, and where it's at, I suppose, really. And in terms of joining up the dots, absolutely. We definitely need to. We should always be thinking about, you know, working smarter and obviously with the citizen in mind. And in today's context, obviously, the community and voluntary sector are hugely important. From my perspective, in terms of managing programs and designing programs, and people would say killing programs and doing all sorts of things to programs over the years, I'd have to say I really welcome the fact that we do have this blueprint for local and community development, Our Communities, as it's called, which was approved by government in 2015, late 2015, and published in January 2016. And for the first time, there was a national forum of people like yourselves brought together, the community and voluntary sector, local and community development people, experts, the citizen, anybody who had skin in the game, so to speak, or who is involved in the sector and involved in working with the state as well, and the NGOs was brought together in the Royal Hospital in 2016 to look at the policy framework document, to discuss issues relevant to the sector and to the citizen, and to work collaboratively and to engage in terms of looking to the next steps around an implementation plan. Policy is only as good ultimately as it's implementable, and also in recognition of the fact that government, through the Programme for Partnership Government, has recognised the need for a strategy to support the community and voluntary sector. So the good and the great and yourselves, you were all there working on this, and out of that came a plan around implementation, and a working group has been formed. But there were some key pieces of information, key learnings, I suppose, and guiding principles, if you want to call them that, or that arose through the initial large engagement in the Royal Hospital. And I might, if you forgive me, the memory's not as good as it used to be, I might just read from that. One of the key things was a shift in how we do our business. We need to ensure, obviously, successful implementation of the policy. What will it look like in terms of its impact? Are we sure that we are engaging with everybody in a meaningful, fully inclusive way, and that we do respect, parity of esteem, everybody's an equal player? We need to build the capacity of the community sector to participate effectively. That was also a key issue, and that will require long-term investment in community development. The perennial issue of building trust and respect between all of the sectors, and it's vital so that people can work together collaboratively. And that's a process, that's a journey as much as anything else, and it does take time to bed in. Needs need to be developed over time, involved listening to each other, and as I said, in an equal setting where there is parity of esteem. The recognition also that a one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work. There is a need for flexibility at a local level in terms of implementing the policy, and it will mean giving more local autonomy in setting priorities and in allocating resources. There's also a need to build on the existing examples of good practice. There's a huge amount of good practice. Most of it, I would argue, is actually my experience with all the years. It mightn't always seem like that from where I'm coming from, but certainly, representing the department, but certainly my experience on, of seeing the work on the ground is, first of all, there's no substitute for the call out. You do actually need to go out. You do need to see what's happening. You need to see the impact of the work, and work that couldn't be done. And as Seamus said, the state has relied on the community and voluntary sector for years. We've even seen it recently, the need for it, and emerging issues in the wake of the tragedy in London, where it was actually communities themselves that rallied and supported each other and filled an astonishing gap that seems to have been left there. So I think, again and again, we're seeing examples of it. And we do need to highlight those examples. So the next steps then in terms of the policy framework obviously is planning the implementation, and a cross-sectoral, cross-government group which has been established and at this stage has met twice. Some of you, Ivan, and some of the other people here today will be familiar with it and will have attended the meetings in terms of looking at the framework policy and prioritising the outputs from the forum, and looking critically and analytically at the policy itself, and developing a plan which is going to be 5 years. It's going to be submitted then to the interdepartmental group by the end of this year, and then it's envisaged that it will be published in January 2018. So I suppose I fed into that to some extent. My colleagues on the community policy side have been leading out on it, so we would link in with them. My work is mainly about programme design, evaluation, the social inclusion programme, which you'll be aware of, the community facilities scheme, and as of now, for the time being anyway, until it's confirmed whether it's staying with us, the RAPID or the revamped RAPID programme, and there's some other elements obviously to community. But as I said, we are in transition. I do think it's really good and really positive that we will have our own department again, and it does give us an opportunity in terms of prioritising this really important work, following on from all of the previous policy statements and policy documents, including significantly the white paper on community and voluntary activity and other policy documents going back over the years. So it's a chance to basically to build momentum. I suppose I'd be conscious of the time frame as well. It's quite long, but we do need to continue to move forward with this, relying on the stakeholders and the expertise among the members of the group.